morning and welcome to Trading with Larry. It's Larry Benedict, joined by Eric Shamalov every single day of the week, except Eric gets off on Friday, and that's the day you guys can write into feedback at the Opportunistic Trader and ask me any questions, and I'm happy to answer them and do a weekly recap of our trading and our thoughts of the week that was. And we're pretty much on hump day. Today is Wednesday. Market down day yesterday, but a weird down day for sure. The Dow at one point was up 250 points during the trading day, and the Nasdaq was down 250 points. So the question is, yesterday was, a Nasdaq crash. It was down like 1.3%. You know, literal crash in the world that we live in. And the Dow was actually positive on the day. So we had a big divergence, people running out of technology and running into other things. And again, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but, Eric is like giving me a razzing off the air that I'm not bearish, but it's okay. I just don't need to come on every single day and discuss, what I think of the market, which I've discussed a million times, that we're in a bubble and the first phase is sort of, you know, starting to come off, and it hasn't come off very much. The one we were focused on, Palantir, we had the highs at 188, covered too early at 164. But that, I know Eric's all mad and everything, but to me, that's a move that I'm looking for. And now it's down a little bit more, and I'm looking to get long it just for a mean reversion trade inside of the bigger move. Because obviously it's hard to make these things die, but if you're riding with me at the Opportunistic Trader, it's very rare, if at all, we ever sell the exact high. Here we were pretty close. And certainly, we don't cover on the low, and then we, don't get long on the low. It doesn't happen like that. If you're front running order flow, which we've discussed on this show millions of times, then you really have no risk. But we're trading in a limited risk environment because we use options to express our views, and it's the best way to do it. Especially, you can see in a Palantir, if you bought stock at 188, it's now 150. You're down $40. It's going to be very difficult for you to hang in and make that money back. I mean, the market's definitely always come back, so you have that in your favor, but maybe this time it won't. And, it's funny, you'll come on the air and say how bearish you are. And yesterday you said after the close, just one day, whatever. So I don't know. I'll throw it to you since you're now Johnny Bear. I actually can't even believe it. If the market goes up today and you're bearish, you might lose your mind. So I'll throw it to you for your thoughts. And then we'll get into a lot of stuff. Big earnings today in Target, sort of confirming the picture that we're talking about on this show. And we talked about, I was talking yesterday about recession and massive slow growth, and I think that's what we're going to see here. And you're seeing it out of the big retailers. But I'll throw it to you since you're leading the way and leading the day. So, you can let everybody know what you're thinking.
I appreciate that, Larry. Yeah, a little razzing. I know you're still bearish. Don't worry. But in terms of Palantir, I'm looking at this the same way that I looked at it the first quarter after earnings. Everybody got excited. The stock goes up to 125, like 10 straight days up after earnings. Everyone gets excited. Everyone gets in at the high, and then it falls $50 pretty quickly. All right, from 125 down to 75.
And then
It's
I'm
the
going to
same
call
stock.
it, and then I'm going to call a timeout. Nobody sold a share and it went to 190. So, I mean, nobody got hurt. Okay. How did you get hurt on that?
I'm just talking about this one trade.
No, I'm talking about the fact that it did. First of all, after the first earnings, the the Trump tariff thing had a lot to do with that. Every stock fell. So that stock fell in sympathy, but this is what I'm waiting for to be the difference, and it hasn't been the difference yet. Sorry to interrupt you. If you buy Palantir at 160, you're going to probably get rewarded. I'm not saying you're getting rewarded tomorrow, but for us and the people that join us, and most of the people that are trading and getting stuff for the day, it's hard to hang in. But for retail customer, he's not selling here, not even close. He's deciding whether he's buying more as a great buying opportunity. And then all of a sudden it comes back. So sorry to interrupt you on that, but that's the problem with the market. So like you said, the stock went from 125 to 80. A lot of that had to do with tariffs, by the way. That was when the tariffs hit. But not one single person sold the stock, and it made a higher high. So anyway, continue your thought.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe it coincided with the high of the market, but Liberation Day, it didn't really fall. But whatever. I think it was more earnings related when it dropped from 125 to around 75, and that was a $50 move, and we basically have that now as well. It's the same situation. Earnings, it starts rallying like 10 days in a row, and now down 50, basically from the high, according to where it is in the pre-market. The thing is, it's you look at it, and um, I'm not sure everybody's going to rush in to buy it this time around like they did in the first quarter. I'm not sure. Maybe, but there's a lot of there's a lot of room to the downside, and Palantir would still retain a very strong uptrend. So I don't know. I'm not in a rush to buy it. But in terms of today, you know, you said I mentioned it, the sell off yesterday was a 1 day thing. Yeah, I think it has the makings of that. Um,
Why?
you know, I was just looking at volatility, and for a 1.5 sigma down move in the Nasdaq, for the VIX not to go up at all, is a little peculiar. So there's no vol
Can I tell
associated.
you something that was very interesting yesterday? Okay. The average volume over the summer in the E-minis has been like 1.1, 1.2, struggling. Yesterday was a fairly large down day for what we have, especially in Qs. Little bit in S&P. S&P was, it's funny. The S&P was only down 30 handles yesterday net. It could be up 30 handles and be green day over day, and then you have tomorrow, the day before Jackson Hole. Um, waiting for him. If he comes out dovish, even after this PPI, it's going to be ridiculous. I mean, and it possibly can happen. Um, I don't know what he's thinking about. I think he's grappling with slow growth here. Target, obviously, I don't know if you looked at the name, but it blew up. Okay. And it's basically tariffs, price increases, etc. Everything that we're talking about is hitting all of these companies. And the question is, how long can they hold up without basically taxing the consumer? And tariffs are a tax on the American consumer. They just haven't, they've now taxed the companies. Think about it. Look at what he's trying to do with Nvidia and selling into China. And the funny thing about selling into China, China's not buying. So it doesn't matter what Trump wants to do. China's not buying these chips, whether they're the Blackwell chip or the H20 chip. They're not buying. So, they're not going to get a tax there. And, let's take a look at Nvidia yesterday. I mean, why don't you I don't know if you can pull like a tick chart on that during the trading day. It was insane. I mean, this stock has 25 billion shares outstanding, 25 billion shares. Okay. And, and the stock basically imploded. I mean, it went down $8 in a couple of minutes. We were short it. I was short a spread. We covered it too early, but it went. the stock wouldn't downtick. It was 183. It traded down to like 175. That's like an $8 move on that's like a $200 billion move in less than 2 or 3 hours. Doesn't that scare you that they can move stocks like this? And then I was pointing out to a really good friend of mine, and the reason why options right now are the best place to be is because there's more, 10 times more. It doesn't even make sense because an option is a derivative of the stock. So it only options are priced off of the underlying stock price. Options are way more liquid than any stock. I can buy 1,000 options in a crack with my eyes closed. Okay. If I try to buy 25,000 shares of Nvidia, I can't buy it. I will move the stock like a half a point to buy 25,000 shares. But to buy 4 times as much in options in the money calls, I could do that in a keystroke. So it's unbelievable what's going on. And I think the reason,
The tail wagging the dog.
well, no, what I think it is the guys over, at these firms like Citadel and Jane Street, they buy order flow. So the way this whole thing works is they buy order flow from your account at Schwab, and they see your orders before they hit the floor. So they have an inherent advantage. So they have a computer program. It's like, listen, if we have 50 buy orders in Nvidia, just explode the stock, and then they explode up the stock. And yesterday they probably had 100 sell orders at the same time and they collapsed the stock. Back when I was trading, I was a specialist and I made markets and options. Nothing could move the way it's moving now because we made what they called, and we were told to do this and it was enforced. We had to make orderly markets. Orderly markets. We couldn't do what's going on in these stocks. And, Nvidia is the prime example. Like that thing will move $3 to $5 today minimally. Okay. I mean, every single day. Like it doesn't even take a day off. Like back in the day when we were trading all these names in the first bubble, in the one that was caused by the internet and valuations and fake companies and whatever, but the same sort of stuff happened, but it was done manually. Now it's all computers, and all it's like playing poker online and them seeing your hand. So the bottom line is, let's say you right now want to buy Nvidia. You place an order on whatever system, interactive. That order basically goes to a co-locate. And at the co-locate is where all the big firms are. So there's no one making fair and orderly markets in any stocks.
Larry, what's a what's a specialist? I don't think people know. I think when people hear specialist, they think like expertise in something, but when you say specialist, what does that mean?
Specialist is, we were a specialist in an individual stock or an individual, set of options. So the specialist in IBM was on the Florida New York Stock Exchange. Okay. His name was Todd Christie when I was trading it. And Todd was responsible for having every trade that traded all over the world go through him. There were no ECNs. There were none of these dark pools and, all of that. So I was responsible for an index called the XMI. I was responsible for calls. So I had to make fair and orderly markets in those options. And if I didn't, I would be in a lot of trouble. There's no sheriff. We were like the sheriffs. We made sure everything ran smoothly. Okay. And, you know, you paid a toll sort of to trade with us. You had to pay to play a little. Now the pay to play is massive and it's all retail. And you think you're getting free commission. You're like, wow, I can trade at Schwab, free commission. You're getting a tax on every trade that you do. So the tax is a lot greater than what it used to be, even though you think you're getting it for free. So that's a lot of what's happened in here. And there's no one assigned to make an orderly market. Like we in IBM, we were the specialists. IBM got out of control, something happened, bad trades, whatever. They would fine you. They would basically take the stock away from you. So now none of that is happening. Now it's run by nobody. So if Nvidia, there's no natural seller. So Nvidia, BlackRock, Blackstone, pull up. Can you pull up the holders on on Nvidia? I don't know if you can. Um, I think it's HLDS or something. But I don't know if you can pull it up on Bloomberg. It should give you a holders list. But literally, if you do you have it or no?
Um,
You
I don't
should.
think I. Yeah, I did the HLDS. I don't see what you want to show though.
Oh, really? It doesn't show a list of who holds the stock. Okay. I believe that there is a that is the function. But anyway, if you look, you know, BlackRock holds 2 billion shares. They can't sell a share unless the public wants to sell it. Part of that holdings, most of it is, linked to index funds. It's part of, all of the different indexes they have. So there's no natural, when I always say there's 25 billion shares outstanding, there is, but 10 of the 25 is held by four firms or five firms. So
So
really,
I got it. It's Vanguard, BlackRock,
Mhm.
something MR LLC, State Street,
Right. Those
and
are
then
all
Jensen,
indexes. So
Jensen Wang is.
there's no natural stock out there. So even though, I'm coming on, I'm telling you there's 25 billion shares outstanding, really, if you add up the first five firms, I bet it's over 10 billion or close. you know.
Including Jensen. That's the top five. He's in the top five. I'm just going to estimate that out to 7 billion
Okay,
shares.
whatever. So
Top
the
five.
top 10 people have over a third of the company. Okay. And Jensen is selling hand over fist, which is what's amazing about the whole thing, that the market is holding well. Um, but I would,
He has 856 million shares, and he just recently sold 150,000.
I think he's selling a lot more than that, but whatever it is. But the point and what I'm trying to get to today and just going through this is this is the wild west. And listen, we're in, I call this phase one. Okay, phase one of the bubble. Okay. um the bubble's been going on for a little while here. It's probably 3 months. Okay. They're blowing it up. Okay. They keep blowing and blowing, blowing. You start to see now leaks in the bubble, like you're seeing stocks like, let's go over them. Coinbase down from 450 to 300 today. Okay. Palantir now down in 2 days from 188, started the week at like 186, down from 186, 76,
Circle.
66, 56. It's down, you know, 25% in 3 trading days or four. And it's what I said to you before. No one can buy it now because think about it. You should be buying it if you like the name, but no one can buy it because they bought it higher. And now, like my saying, this should be one of my monikers because I always say this to you and it always works. Okay. Sellers live lower and buyers live higher. If the market's going higher, they just keep buying. No one can stop them. When the market is selling off, sellers live lower. They have to sell. So we're in the sellers live lower, but like you said, circle. How about let's give the one bullish. Bullish was trading at $120 2 days ago. It got down to 50s. Okay, it's down like 70% from the high. No bids. Okay, I mean that'll change. All of this is going to change. It's trading, but right now, for the moment, it's sort of bidless. Like Palantir, I saw pre-open is down like $3 or $4. Like, how can that? I mean, the thing never went down. Now no one can buy it. So that'll turn. And it's probably for a trade. A counter trend buy. Weak against the market. You got to just watch that. But overall, it's it's interesting. And you know what's even more interesting today? Just another, I know I'm talking about a bunch of different things, but stuff I'm picking up on today. Like, there's something called Skew, and, the put calls, put call parity should price every option sort of the same. But the way it works in indexes, usually, and even individual equities, calls are lower priced than puts, okay? Because there's more fear. We move usually lower faster, which has happened in the last couple of days. Today, I'm seeing a negative skew to puts to calls. So the calls out of the money for tomorrow are actually higher than puts, which is strange. It should not be that way, especially after having, a down day yesterday, and sort of a slightly down opening today. But, we're selling some out of the money puts and out of the money call spreads for tomorrow because we think it's going to be a little bit quiet, you know, coming into Jackson Hole because people will want to square up um, positions. So, we're doing that, but it's interesting. We sold a call spread 40 S&P points out of the money at 320, and the put spread was only 280. So it's leading me to believe that they're skewed to the buy side today. Um, Again, I'm not 100% on that, but that's what I'm seeing. That the market, or they don't think we're going to go down a lot. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm seeing that skew. That's weird. Um, Bonds are up small. They were down overnight, reversed. Um, Oil tanked a little yesterday. It keeps going down to like 71, I'm sorry, 61 and a half, back to 62 and a half, 62.50, not really doing anything. We're sort of in a critical area. I know you think higher, I think lower. I still think we're
Higher
going
for what? Higher for what?
to
I'm sorry.
what?
Higher for what?
Oil.
Oh, oil. Yeah, I got out of that trade yesterday, unfortunately.
All right. Well, listen, so I guess you don't think higher. I don't, I think, I
Higher. I
think lower, but
wanted to.
let's talk about something for a minute that we haven't really touched on. Um, is this Russian Ukraine situation where Trump thinks he has control of what's going on, and they can't even put a meeting on the tape. Okay. They can't even forget making a deal, forget a ceasefire. You know, there's rumblings out of the Kremlin, that they're not even going to have a meeting. So I don't even understand the waste. I mean, he flew every European leader in, or they flew in. I don't know if he flew them in, but they flew in. They met with him. He met with Putin in Alaska. Very short meeting, by the way. It wasn't even a couple of hours. He brought the entire contingent. Wasn't even a couple of hours. Listen, Putin is ice, okay? Don't kid yourself. He's running circles around Trump. Trump's like, we gotta go. He was heard on a hot mic saying, to Macron that Russia wants to do anything he wants. I mean, I don't know how he's coming up with that, but you know, I don't think anybody's talking about this, but I mean, doesn't it seem a little weird that they can't even get to talking? How are they going to get a deal if they don't even talk? So no one's speaking about that. I'm sure when they schedule the meeting either later today or tomorrow, the market will rally. Once they put the meeting up, which I'm sure they're gonna try. They're trying their hardest to meet. And then the thing is, where can they meet? Because Putin is a wanted war criminal. So if he steps foot in very many countries, he's going to get arrested. So they can't go there. So I don't know if, he's going to go to his home turf in Moscow or where this meeting is going to happen, but there's not a lot of places it can happen. So we'll keep an eye on that for sure. No one's really talking about it. I expect the market probably, I don't know why, will rally once they have a headline that they're meeting. I don't know how much, and it's probably a short, but keep an eye out for the meeting. That's important. Again,
You're looking forward to Fed minutes today.
you
Are
are.
you still?
Yeah, but you said yesterday that it's not incorporating the PPI, so the minutes are out the window. I mean, yeah, I mean, I believe the minutes are going to be very dovish, like literally, like they want to cut a lot of times. Okay, but they didn't see that number, so I really think Jackson Hole is the first time he's speaking. You know,
With that number? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
100%. You know,
uh, what do you think the result is? Well, first of all, the minutes today, plus or minus. What do you think the effect on the index is going to be?
um, oh, the minutes.
Yeah,
No,
five
I don't. I
five
don't.
point move at
I
best.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it'll be a non factor for today. But
No, I think they're gonna show. You know, I think they're gonna show. I think it's gonna show dovish, like I said. So I don't know. I mean, there's not a lot of. It's funny. The Nasdaq. I mean, this is the follow through from yesterday. It's weird because the Dow is up again. It's the same trade, and just keep an eye on the Dow today, because as soon as that starts to fall, the Nasdaq is going to start to rip. Does that make any sense to you? But that's the trade. It's like a weird.
in
It's
in this weird market, it
Yeah,
actually
but you
does make
also
sense.
got okay. So I didn't. I got sidetracked on my thought. So yesterday, we had some action in Nasdaq and definitely action in S&P. We moved like 70 spoo points, which is outside of our norm, and we moved 400 Nasdaq points from high to low. Big move relative to what we've been seeing. So I went and I looked at the S&P mini volume at the end of the day, and it was barely a million,
I know.
which is so unusual for a down day. Where are the people? Where is the volume? That means, that basically that move came on no volume. Nobody made moves.
There
And
was some volume in the Nasdaq, a little bit. It was above average in the Q,
was it?
but
I mean, we
yeah,
were
it was
we
above
were still running very low, very low. And
in the SPY. It was
And
right
then
at the
my
average.
and then my question is this. Listen, I've been trading. I know you could look at me and like that guy is old, but I've been trading for 40 years, over 40 years. Okay. Until these young kids came in, or computer programmers or whatever, or I don't know, what are they called to you? Like algorithmic guys or whatever, the algo guys, there was never anything like this. If the S&P was down, the Nasdaq was down, and the Dow was down. If the S&P was up, the S&P was up, the Dow was up, and the Nasdaq is up. So now you throw this wrinkle in, like, was yesterday really a down day? That's
Yes.
the question. Why was it a down day? If the Dow is up, why is it a down day? I'm just
Well,
saying. What?
it was 100% a down day, even though the Dow was up. The Dow
Right,
has
but
30
that's
stocks.
not true down. True down is when, dude.
Right.
True down is when they shut the algos off. They can't buy anything. Dude, that was the most orderly sell-off I've ever seen.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was.
I mean, and the thing is, they
It
moved
was.
Nvidia from 183 down to 175 in less than 2 hours. How is that? That has nothing to do. There was no news in the stock. Actually, the news pre-open was positive, a little positive, and the stock opened higher. And then all of a sudden, there's no buyer, and they smashed the stock. So, like, I'm just trying to understand how a stock like this can have no liquidity, none. And the funny thing is, for days and days and days, I was on this podcast saying, "Hey, this is really negative news in Nvidia. They're not, China says they're not buying chips, this, that." The stock wouldn't budge. It was going up. Am I wrong? And then all in 15 minutes, the stock implodes and now it can't uptick. You know? I mean, it will maybe on the after the opening, but you don't find this to be a little bit crazy?
I find it silly. Yeah.
But I'm
And
just
I've
saying,
been
why?
calling it crazy. You've been getting on me for calling the market crazy. You're like, what's crazy about it? So
No, the market is not
it's
crazy
a
at
little bit
all.
funny to hear you now say, yeah, this is crazy. This is what I mean by
No,
crazy.
you don't.
Bank on
You
crazy.
meant crazy that it was exploding up. Okay,
No,
I'm not, and I'm not
the
even
way
using the word
the way
crazy.
that it was exploding up was crazy. This kind of nonsense where you have negative news that is going to impact the company in a negative way, the market would rally on that. Things where the
But
market
why
would
is that
rally
crazy?
two times on the same news. That's
That's not
crazy.
crazy.
No, it's not okay.
Well, listen, I'm picking up a clue today. It may not work, but puts are cheaper than calls. So, whatever. I'm not saying any of that is crazy. I'm not even saying any of the things that you're saying before. What, dude, listen, you're just in a bubble. So that's not crazy. That's just what it does. So, it can have the same news four times and rally four times. It doesn't matter. And then, listen, now the prices are lower in Nvidia. Let's see how much they can buy. They can't buy what they could buy when it's at 182. When at 182, they're unlimited. They can buy whatever. They'll buy a million.
Well, I hope they don't get to 182. I have call spreads out there for Friday on 182.
The problem with Nvidia, honestly, is it's illiquid. It's in it's the biggest stock in the world, and it's illiquid. It's actually, and this a little bit reminds me of the internet bubble, except it's happening in, listen, if you put a level two, if Thomas was here, he's not here, but if we put up our level two, you can't see any size anywhere. When we were specialists in these
Where
stocks,
is he? 9 o'clock. Where is he? What did you do to him?
dude, he can't sit in here. He's just making too much noise. He's doing too many things, so he's in our other office. This is our trading room. So we have a bunch of offices in here. So he's sitting in our other office doing work, but he'll be back. Don't worry, he's
You
gonna be
were
busy.
glazing him on Friday, and yesterday you were at his throat. It was the funniest thing ever.
I just whatever. It's an interesting day every day. So, but we trade a lot in here, a lot. I mean, we're not doing micro minis. Okay, we're trading, really good size. And like I said to you before, the interesting thing as a true trader and someone that's trading it every single day, I would tell you that the size in options is astronomical. It is
Do you think
un.
it's going to be a problem for the market at some point where the tail is wagging the dog?
Well, no, the problem in the market is what I discussed before, and I don't really want to get into it again, but it's the lack of liquidity in stock. It's not the lack of liquidity. Liquidity's there, but they want to front run every stock trade. Make 5 cents, make 10 cents. They get the cue. Like today, if you have big buying on the opening, they'll rip the market. If you have selling on the opening, they'll smash it down. And then they go from there. And when I say they, it's all of these, market making firms that are buying order flow. It's coming right from that. The order flow should not be sold. It should not be sold to firms. It should be distributed evenly in the marketplace, and it should be hidden. It should not be shown to other people before it's going out to the public. And that's what's
That's
happening.
very interesting. That should be a policy suggestion.
I mean,
I
they
think
they
that's a
will
big
never
point.
take that. That policy suggestion was made 10 years ago, and the volume's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and the pay to play is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Why would anyone stop it? The exchange is making money, the firms are making money, the public is very happy. Right now, the public is ecstatic. They're making fortunes. So what
Yeah,
do they
they're
care?
making
Let me ask you a question. If you're coming into Manhattan, you got to pay a toll. Okay, you just pay the toll. You just live with it. And it's the same thing here. Here you're paying the toll, but you're making money. So you don't care. Let me ask you a question. If you make $1 on a stock and pay a 10-cent toll, how many times are you going to do that? All day long, every day. Okay. So that's what's happening. So no one cares. It'll be brought up if the market ever goes down, and then people are going to be like, this is crazy. But that's why the market never really goes down, because they don't want to uncover the secret. But we're talking about a lot of esoteric stuff that you know will take a long time to really go over. So I want to touch on, I want to touch on the markets. The dollar hasn't done much. 166.69. I mean, 116.69 a euro. Yen 147 30. And we're just sitting. So not a lot of move there. Bonds coming back down, back to 430, 429. We had that trade on. We got out of that trade. We made some decent money on that. We're out of that now, waiting to see Jackson Hole. I mean, I don't see how he's going to be hawkish. I don't see it. I just think growth is so slow right now. And listen, the housing numbers yesterday were very weak. Okay. Target today, one of the biggest retailers in the country, extremely weak, extremely weak. So where, like you're seeing growth, or you're saying where are you seeing growth in what? The jobs numbers were weak, revised. They fired the guy from the BLS because the numbers were so weak. So you had weak job numbers, you have weak housing numbers, you have weak retail numbers, you have inflation popping into the market on the producer level. So what in fact is strong? Like I'm trying to, understand. I went into Starbucks
I mean,
yesterday.
GDP now, Atlanta Fed GDP now is at 2.26%. Annualized GDP as a forecast. Um, it's not really moving down. It's in a steady state. It's in a steady state. So I'm not seeing like a complete drop off in growth, and I'm also seeing some soft data out of some of the soft data is showing optimism. Small business optimism is on the rise.
What?
Uh, off its
No,
lows, yeah,
I'm
off
throwing a
its lows.
flag.
It has
No way. No possible way. No way.
some of the PMI data is a little bit weak in services,
Eric,
that's for
small
sure.
businesses are getting destroyed. That's who's getting destroyed. How can you handle tariffs? And they're importing a lot of their product. They're getting destroyed. Small business, like listen, Mercedes Benz can handle it, Target can handle it, et cetera, et cetera. You know, so it's you know, I think it's hitting small businesses really hard. Big businesses are showing it, but how are you going to really hurt Target? I mean, obviously their numbers were terrible, stocks down big. The bottom line is it's going to take a lot to hurt them, but small businesses go out of business, and I think they're going out of business. I think this is very scary times. Just my opinion. You
Well,
know,
here's the small business optimism index, and you had a big rip into the Trump election because small businesses wanted Trump. They got him, then they didn't want him because of tariffs. And you know what? After the lows on the market, Liberation Day, and all that stuff, it's been on the rise. It has been on the rise. One thing
okay.
I do want to look at is the small business hiring plans. Let's take a look at that. I don't know why I'm doing this on the air, but I guess I am.
I like it. I like it.
On the air,
What
real
about
time.
housing? I mean, destroyed.
Hiring plans, hiring plans kind of stink, but you know, I
I
don't
see
know if
it
this is
everywhere.
telling.
The housing number at a toll was a little bit weak yesterday. One of the biggest home builders. Mortgage applications are down. They actually were looking up. Mortgage MBA mortgage applications today minus 1.48. I don't know what it really means, but the prior survey was plus 10%. So I just don't see growth. I see stagnation. Um,
Yeah,
and I think the Fed, listen, I don't know how the market's going to perceive it, but I think that he may be very dovish. So I would be careful about that. He may not be, but I think the minutes are going to show. Listen, there was a lot of dissension in the Fed room at the last rate meeting with Waller, etc., being very vocal. So these minutes today could be showing you, literally fighting, to cut rates. Oh, so I think
Well, we saw the fighting already during the last Fed meeting, actually. Um,
right. Well, these are the
Even two
minutes
Fed
from that
meetings
meeting.
ago, it's been 50-50 on the dot plot in terms of people in the Fed who think we should have no rate cuts and people who think we should. So the Fed is divided already.
Yeah. Again, you know, I don't really know what's going to happen. Obviously, we'll see that later today.
Have you ever seen a Fed this divided?
Yeah, listen, this whole thing with transparency in the Fed never took place in the history of the Fed. Back when I started trading, there was a gentleman named Paul Volcker who was probably the best chairman of the Fed in history and literally
Yep.
saved the market in the early 80s. He made every rate decision by himself and did it intermeeting, didn't signal anything, caught the markets offside, got like right now, if the Fed does a quarter, it's freaking irrelevant to the stock market. Irrelevant. Okay. Honestly, you hear me? Irrelevant to the stock
Yeah.
market. It's not anything. It's already in there. But how about this? How about if they're not really telling you anything and then they do a half? Then they're stirring it up and siding people. It's almost like the stuff they do when currencies move too much and the central banks get involved. The problem with our Fed is they're signaling everything. They don't want to have the market be surprised. Well, maybe a surprise is needed and maybe it's good. So I would say, for the Fed, they want to be so transparent that it actually hurts Fed activity. So that's what I see. And other than that, oil got down to the lows yesterday and bounced about $1, trading back to where it was the day before. Um, Gold somehow up 26, looked kind of weak overnight, but rallying. So that, again, is still inside, hasn't really moved. Gold hasn't moved more than 10 points in like a week and a half. I mean, it's been up and down, but it's crazy.
Just wait. The move is
So
coming.
I know. You're
It's
dude.
been consolidating for like 4 months. I mean, that's a long consolidation.
Okay.
Like, if
Let me
if
ask
that
you
thing
a
breaks
question.
to
If
the
you have a
upside,
product that well, actually, I shouldn't ask it because people want 400% moves. But if you have a product at 30% for the year, how happy are you? Like, that's
very
a grand slam home run. That's what you have in gold. I know they want 100%. Dude, it's like Bitcoin, you know? And, we haven't touched on Bitcoin, but
Larry,
Bitcoin,
I'm a product of the environment. You say that every day. I'm a product of the environment. So 30% is not enough. I want 300 to 500% returns in less than a year.
okay, well, you're the cause of the root cause of the bubble. But, on a more important note, and, we're getting late in the podcast, we haven't touched on Bitcoin, but Bitcoin got down. I don't know where it's trading right now because I'm not that focused on it, but it was
113,
right.
113,
Right. It can't,
113.
it can't even bounce. So the next move in Bitcoin is lower. Okay. I think it's probably the most over-owned asset class in the world. Honestly, I mean, it doesn't have a huge market cap. It only has the market cap of less than Nvidia for every product, so it's not that big. But it's so overowned. It's so overowned, and no
I
one.
bought it yesterday.
You bought it?
Yeah,
Okay. Well, I just think it's so. I don't know where it's going. It's just so overowned. There's five.
100%.
There's 5,000 ETFs now out there. There's triple leverage, double leverage. And you know what's interesting? The premium for MSTR above the value of Bitcoin has been coming in. That thing was trading at a crazy valuation versus the amount of, all that is a Bitcoin company. So, the bottom line is that's all that is. Um,
Chainlink's at 25. You
what
talking about crypto? We're talking about crypto. Chainlink is at 25.
is that, good or bad? I don't know.
Great. That is great.
Okay. I mean, dude, that's going to solve all the banking problems in the world. And you're going to use
100.
it. You're going to use it to do whatever you're doing. You know what's funny? And I want to wrap after, we discuss this, just give some
Didn't
close.
even talk about the straddle today and what we're trading in SPX.
I'm basically selling a straddle for tomorrow in SPX, not today. Getting about $40 for it. Um, and I think once we get through the opening here, I think the opening, they're going to try to push lower, and then probably buyers appear waiting for the minutes. I mean, the question is, if he's dovish moving forward from here, how much does the market go to an all-time high if he's dovish? I hope not, but these guys are crazy, so you never know. And I'm thinking, I don't know how he could be hawkish. I mean, I'm just not, maybe he's standoffish and won't commit, but I don't see a true reason to be that hawkish at this point. And you have very bad dissension in the Fed, and he has 7 months left. So for the next 7 months, every single member of the Fed is going to want to cut rates. So you think he's going up against any of those guys? I don't think so. So we'll leave it at that for today. I think just for a little bit of a roadmap, weaker opening, they'll try to press it, see if it fails, but probably market stabilizes, potentially goes higher at some point. Maybe we get two-way trade today. I'm not 100% sure of that, but I don't expect anything too crazy. And then again, the way you're going to know this is how crazy it is. You ready? I'm going to give you the clue. You ready? The way you're going to know it's time to buy Nasdaq is if the Dow goes down. So put the Dow on your screen, and as soon as that goes down, buy the Nasdaq. Makes no sense, makes no logical sense, but that is what's going to happen. And yeah,
Exactly. I actually, for once, I agree with you. I think
but
this is a
what
symptom.
sense does that make? What sense does that make? Why do they have to
This is
buy?
when
Because
I
it's
say
you.
bank on
The market
crazy.
is
That's
you. The
exactly what
market
I
is
mean.
you. The market is you. You sell something to buy something else. I, I don't know how that could work, but somehow they think it's going to work. But yesterday they got their face ripped off because at one point the Nasdaq
Yeah.
was down 275 and the Dow was up 250. Then the Dow went negative on the day, and then Nasdaq just sat where it was. So somebody got hurt. So I don't know how that's a correlated trade, but this is what's going on here. So just keep that down next to you. Keep it like a blanket and just watch it. And but the question I want to leave with, because we're about 10 minutes before the opening, is how is the market really going to go down if they sell one thing to buy another? Like in
Right.
a market that's really going down, nothing goes up. I've seen it for 40 years. I don't care what these kids are doing. Okay? For 40 years I've seen this. There is no possible way that at the end of the year the Dow may be down 7 and the Nasdaq down 14. That divergence can happen, but never. I mean, this is crazy town. I'm just telling you, it's crazy
That's
town.
why. That's why I'm thinking maybe I'm positioned as an iron condor day today, specifically for that reason.
Well, I don't know about, dude.
Because it's not real. Like, how do you
What
how
do
will the
you? Let
market?
me ask you a question. What is the price of the straddle? It's probably only $20. Like, there's got to be
No,
nothing. What?
no, it's higher. It's
Where?
higher. It's
What is it?
25, 25.
25. Okay. I mean, listen, that's telling you, dude. But you going not going by your own clue. You're saying when the
No,
straddle's higher
my
that the
clue is that
market's
there's
going to have a move.
my clue is I think it was a 1 day thing for two reasons. One, there was no vol yesterday, and two, because of what you're saying, how could it be real when they're just selling one thing to buy another?
But the vol can lag or lead. The vol can lag or lead. Okay. You could have a down move of 4% and have no movement in vol. And then on the fifth day, explosion in vol 10, 20, 30%. I've seen it. So I don't rely on that. I mean,
Well,
and the
okay,
problem and the problem with vol,
1.5 sigma down move in Nasdaq with no pop in volatility tells me it's not it's the market's not going to
you say it's
cascade
not
down.
real. Price is real. Price is real. Okay. So it doesn't matter whether you think it's real. Hey, if the vol doesn't pop today and we go down 200 NASDAQ points, that's a real move.
But your
Okay.
position for Iron Condor tomorrow, why not today? Why not both days, actually?
Because I'm getting a crazy number for tomorrow, and I don't think anything is going to happen tomorrow in
Well,
front of.
I got the crazy number yesterday. I sold that Condor like 3:30, like 30 minutes before the close, and it was you. You have my price. I texted you the trailer.
I don't even know, dude. Whatever your price is, it's probably higher than the high. So you got them. I don't know. Listen, we're running deep. I'm ending the podcast. I appreciate everyone for watching. You can see us every day, 8:30 on YouTube Live, Trading with Larry. I appreciate everybody coming to watch, and hopefully I'm helping you guys navigate the market and giving you ideas and thoughts to make money. Sometimes we come with specific trades, specific ideas. Sometimes it's more general, but I appreciate everyone for joining me today. I appreciate you, Eric. You're the alter ego of me. Maybe I can't even say I was you 30 years ago, but or 25 years ago, but you're the new me. And I appreciate you joining, and we'll be back to everybody tomorrow, pre Jackson Hole update, and hopefully we get some trading today. And again, probably could buy some weakness on the opening. Market will probably trade both sides of the line today. And I wish everybody luck, and we'll be back tomorrow. Peace.